4, 3,
We'll have to see.
2, 1.
Hey, happy hour. How's it going? How are the Mythics going tonight? They're going pretty well. We had a Siege of Borealis that we had a lot of deaths in, but we did complete it, and then we actually just timed a Necrotic Wake, so pretty well so far tonight. We're dipping our toes back in Ara-kara after last night, so you know, we'll see if it continues to go well. Oh, don't run right over the web. We'll see how this one goes. We had major struggles in here last night. I think I tried running this place like 5 or 6 times last night, and we never killed the first boss. But I believe we can do it tonight. Gotta believe. How are you doing tonight, Happy Hour? Hope you're doing well. Hope you've got a good weekend so far. I don't want to get hit by those. Tuned into the start last night in the city one. Yeah, that was this one. Ara-kara. City of Echoes. So it's going a little bit better tonight so far. Alright, I need to save my kick for the fear here. Looks like our Ellie Shaman got it too, so that's good. Feeling the dungeons are overtuned, or is it the pug risk? It's really hard to tell. A lot of them, especially the new ones, do feel a little bit overtuned. But I am doing all pugs on the beta, like, outside of a few people from chat coming in from time to time. Like right now, the mage in this group is one of our friends here on Twitch. Yeah, it's hard to tell, because then you also have to consider like the gear scaling, which is actually in a pretty good spot right now. Like we're scaled to, I think like 626 or 629 maybe. I think it's 626 on the cover of a gear. I'll say, yeah, 626, which is like heroic raid, like end heroic raid level gear. So it's hard to say if that's like too low for doing 10s. I mean, that's like what you're gonna get. Like that's what your gear will be at if you're doing 10s for a while. So some of the things definitely feel overtuned though. Like some of the boss damage is insane, frankly. I do like the new dungeons though. I think if they get the tuning right, this is going to be a really, really fun season. We need to... I thought I picked up this guy. Alright, we'll grab him. And then we'll grab like this guy and this pack. Yeah, these engorged crawlers, you want to kill them before you engage the mini boss here, because when they get low on health, they put this big circle around them, and if you don't kill them before they finish their cast, they explode. You don't want to have that happen right on top of the mini boss. It's just a lot of extra damage. I should hold my Hellmanner up there. Actually, this one doesn't do the fear, so it's fine. Yeah, I think the dungeons are fun. And like we'll see what happens with tuning. Like there's so much tuning that happened in season 1 of Dragonflight. If things are like legitimately way harder than they should be and groups are just not able to do dungeons, like I feel pretty confident that Blizzard will nerf it. I will say a couple things that really help with dungeons this season. There's a lot of curses and a lot of poisons. So if you have a poison or curse dispel, those are going to get very big value in season 1 here. The dungeon we're doing right now specifically, poison dispels are huge. Obviously we have 2 shamans, so if they have poison cleansing totem, which they should, then that makes things a lot smoother. Your Ruby season 1 was really bad for like a month. Yeah, that was like that's one of the ones I think of when I'm talking about the tuning that they did in season 1. That place was a nightmare.
Defensive.
It was like on Tyrannical, the bosses were just like overwhelming, and on Fortified, there were some of the trash mobs, especially the dragons in the ring upstairs that were extremely tough. Listed that in BFA and Shadowlands too. Glad I was the straw that broke my retail back in season 1 of both expansions. Yeah, that's fair. They were a lot better about like doing tuning in Dragonflight though over time, as it needed to happen. Oh, we're gonna have to go to the other side. Actually, the eggs are dropping over here. I didn't even see the ads, so DPS was really good on him.
Defensive.
So this boss, if he gets within like, I think about 10 yards of any of those ads, he will eat them. And they will give him a stacking 50% damage buff that lasts for a minute. So, and basically this Gossamer Onslaught that he does, he's doing right now, like you can see even with no stacks of that buff, it's already like very high group damage.
Defensive.
So if he gets any of those ads, it's basically a wipe. At least on, I mean we're doing this on +10, so. The alerting shrill that summons the ads also does a ton of damage, so. Sounds like it was the same for Dragonflight Season 1, by that time I was fully in TBC or Wrath Classic. Right on. I didn't play too much of TBC or Wrath Classic. I played a good amount of Classic, like Vanilla Classic. But I mean, I played TBC and Wrath of the Lich King when they were current content, so. I played Vanilla when it was current too, but I had a lot more nostalgia for that than for TBC or Wrath. Wrath, I made the mistake of getting talked into rolling on the PvP server, like the fresh PvP server. And I got ganked a bunch of times while I was trying to level, and that was just a huge turn off for me. I did play a little bit of Cataclysm Classic not too long ago. But I kind of only got to like doing heroics to gear up my character. I didn't actually find a raiding group or anything.
Defensive.
I think I would have played more Cataclysm because I was really liking it, but there's just like too many other things I want to do in WoW. Awesome, we made it through the first boss. I know that sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm really not. Not after last night. Those Xiaomis are clapping? Yeah. When does beta shut down? We don't know yet. In the past, they've actually let it run like post-launch for a little bit. I don't know, it depends on the expansion, but I would not be surprised if they let it run until Season 1 launches. Because they'll probably still want to do, or like they can still get useful information if people want to do Mythic Plus testing during that time. I probably won't do any more Mythic Plus testing or any more beta testing after launch, but... So I don't know, they could shut it down like on actual launch, or they could wait a little bit beyond that. I don't know if we'll get an announcement about that or if they'll just kind of do it one day. I wouldn't anticipate too much more as far as like actual builds on the beta. I think they'll do a little bit more tuning via hotfixes. Okay, this is the part of the dungeon that I'm less familiar with because, you know, like I mentioned, we had some trouble here last night. Just getting to this point. We're gonna last stand here. I think we really need to kick those revolting volleys. That's crazy. People still be running keys on beta server between launch and Season 1 starting. I thought I remember doing alts and gearing everyone up. I mean, I think it depends on... Like, there might be some people still doing it. Obviously, anyone who's, like, doing raiding or trying to play multiple characters seriously is probably not going to spend much time on beta. But if you're, like... I'm thinking, like, full-time streamers who, like, have 16 hours a day to play and... Like, even up to Season 1, like, it'll be pretty easy to get all your gear on your characters that you need. And the first week, like, there's only going to be Mythic Zeros to do, so... If you want to really study the dungeons, especially if you're thinking, like, prepping for MDI or something, or just for, like, high pushing, then, like, there's still value to be gained from doing stuff on the beta. Oh, we might be in trouble here. I did not realize that Pat was going to come in there. What does the orb and light affix do? Look at the icons. So the first one is Zalatoth's Bargain. So this is like the replacement for like the full kind of regular affixes. And it's kind of a potentially seasonal thing. We don't really know what they're going to do with it in future seasons. But there's 4 affixes that rotate. The one that we have today... and they'll rotate weekly on live, but on beta they rotate like every couple of days, it seems like. The one we have today puts a... It's kind of hard to describe. It used to be a healing absorb, but they changed it so that it doesn't actually absorb healing. It just requires players to get healed by a certain amount. So see like all this like bar, like the different coloration on the health bars. The way that it works is players need to either get dispelled by any dispel. It could be curse, poison, disease, whatever. I think even magic. Or they need to get healed for like 3 or 4 million. And if you get healed or you get dispelled, for every person that like gets the debuff removed, the group gains a stacking buff that's like, I think it's like 2 or 4% crit and healing received. If you miss it, and like the debuff expires on anyone, then whatever enemies you're in combat with receive it's kind of like Sanguine. They get a buff that heals them for like 2% of their max HP per second.
Run out.
So it's a Kiss Curse, which is pretty cool. I'm a little frustrated that, like, as a warrior, there's not really anything I can do about it. But if you bring a group that has, like, multiple dispels and your healer pays attention to it, it doesn't seem like it's that challenging. When they first added it, it was like an actual heal absorb, and that was, like, extremely punishing. And then the lighter one, that's the one that makes... So that one clicks in on level 7, and that's the one that makes your deaths count for 15 seconds instead of 5 against the timer. So one of the things they're trying to do with that is basically if you want to push up the ladder in keys, you need to, like, play cleaner as you push higher. I think their intent with that is to, like, eliminate these keys that we've been doing in Dragonflight where there's like 35 deaths and you still get a +2. Which I think is excessive. Shattering Throw doesn't work because it's like an absorb on yourself. The other affixes, there's one that is basically a bunch of like 10 orbs spawn around where you're in combat. And you have to CC them, but you can use AoE CCs, and you only have to hit them once. And you get a stacking like haste and speed buff for each one of those. If you fail that one, then like the mobs get a stacking haste buff. But like his warrior, that one's actually really nice because you can just shockwave and take out like the entire set of them if you aim it well. There's one that summons like a single ad that has... So the way the ad works is kind of interesting. It has like 1 health, but then it has like a huge absorb shield on it. And you have to kill it or it like reduces the damage taken of the mobs around it over time. I forget what the buff you get for that one is. It might be like Mastery or Burst or something. And then the last one that I haven't actually played with is like there's a bunch of orbs that spawn like around where you're in combat and they like move towards mobs. And that one you have to just like run into the orbs before they get hit by... before they hit the mobs. They're all really intuitive, I think, except maybe the one we have right now. But yeah, those are going to rotate week to week. There's only 4 of them, so we'll get used to them pretty fast, I think. Because you'll see them pretty often. Alright, I'm not going to say anything about how this run's going because I don't want to curse it. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool approach to affix design. Because like people have been asking for Kiss Curse affixes for a long time. And so actually getting some is pretty cool. There's also so there's another affix at level 12 that removes the level 2 affix and just does more scaling health and damage on mobs. So if you're doing like 12s or higher, you don't have to deal with the Zaloteth affix. You just play the dungeon basically. It's just going to be immensely harder because everything has like another 20% damage and health modifier on it. Did I? No, I just got slowed. Sorry, I'm a little behind on a couple of people in chat. Texas Cowboy, just curious, do you have a video on keybinds? I do not, but I can make one if you would find that helpful and interesting. As far as keybinds for myself, I use an MMO mouse. I'll hold it up here. So I have a full keypad on the side of the mouse, and that's what I have like all my rotational buttons on. But I did have like kind of wacky keybinds for a long time that I just kind of like added them around the WASD keys as I got more abilities and needed to like figure out how to use them. Easy boss compared to the first one. Yeah, that second boss is a lot easier. Definitely a more straightforward mechanic, and the tuning is a lot friendlier. So no kiss curse on 12 plus. Yeah, 12 plus. It's only the dungeon mechanics. It's just like, you know, everything is going to hit that much harder. Does that actually make the dungeon harder or potentially easier without Xal'atath's Bargain in it? That's an interesting question, because I think there are going to be some places where like Xal'atath's Bargain makes things a little harder. Like with the Dispel one here, if you have, like if you're doing a pack that requires your Dispels already, and then like you have to Dispel this on top of it or pump out a ton of healing, like that can make things more difficult. One example would be in Grim Batal, there's these warlocks in the second half of the dungeon that put a like healing absorb curse on people. The heal absorb on that is like 4 million. So if you have that plus Xal'atath's Bargain, like if you have to like stagger your dispels, that could be kind of tough. But on the other hand, getting like another 20% on that heal absorb, or like another 20% damage on some of the stuff in that dungeon, would be very, very difficult as well. So, and like the other factor there is like that 20% is like, it's another scaling modifier, right? So you have like the baseline scaling, and then you have fortified and tyrannical, and then you have this other like 20%. So like it all kind of compounds, and keys are going to get really, really hard. At the same time, I've seen people doing like timing 15s on beta. I've been watching a lot of Yoda's stream during the day, and he's got groups that are like pretty consistently, I mean maybe not consistently, but like regularly timing plus 14s and 15s. So people are already doing that on the beta 3 levels into that. Then it'll be interesting to see what they can do on live when they have like full maxed out mythic gear with like some level of tertiaries, even though tertiaries are less important. Alright, here we go. This last boss is a bit of a doozy. We're just gonna go for it. So she's gonna summon these blood workers that run across the platform. You have to deal damage to them. You also want to dodge, there's like webs to dodge, and you see they drop these puddles. Okay, there's also these poisons that go around when people get dispelled. Basically, they drop these bubbles, and if you step in those, you get rooted.
Watch your step.
See this ability coming in, Cosmic Singularity? You actually need to get rooted to deal with this mechanic, because she sucks you in, and if you get rooted, you die. Now, the good thing is you can get out of those roots with a single target.
Watch your step.
Single targets, or probably AoE CC. So you just CC the mob that roots you, and then you get out of it. So you don't have to like actually kill it, because it's got a crazy amount of health.
Watch your step.
But if you get rooted at the wrong time, or if like multiple people go for the same one and you're like not able to actually get to it, like could be pretty bad. There's also
Watch your step.
there is some trolling potential with that mechanic, right? So if you're doing this on Mythic 0 week and like the boss is at 15%, you could just stun your friend's root mob.
Watch your step.
Oh, I need to not die here. And then like they'll just get sucked into the boss and die. But yeah, you need to use the stun so that you don't get sucked in, because it's like at first it's pretty slow because the tank needs to be able to run away from it, but it ramps up a lot.
Watch your step.
And then you do need to kill the ads eventually. Wonder if I could Blade Storm the cast? Maybe. I think things like Blade Storm, Bubble, maybe Blessing of Freedom, Death's Advance, that kind of stuff would work on it.
Watch your step.
But yeah, if you if you get hit by the web thing right there, you get stunned, so you want to avoid that. I do appreciate that it shows you which direction your poison things are going to go in there. Nice. Well, that was a good run. Ooh, we got a chest. Yeah, keys are going really well tonight.